Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome to part 1 of our Goblin test week. So it's going to be a series of videos where I create some first level fighters from each of the editions of Dungeons & Dragons, and then at the end of the week I will put each of those fighters up against a never-ending stream of goblins to see how many goblins can be reasonably defeated by a first level fighter from each of the editions. So I'm going to start off with first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Now at first I just wanted to do these videos where I basically just did the test combats and showed the characters, but I thought it'd be fun to actually make the characters on camera. So I thought I would do that. Now I did want to make two versions of the characters, so one would be a standard version, the other would be more of an optimized build. For this one I'm just going to go and do the standard generation method. Now in the announcement video I had mentioned that the Dungeon Master's Guide outlines several different methods for generating characters, and it was my plan to use method number 1, which, just let me get that here. So method number 1, let's zoom in. So it just says all scores are recorded and arranged in the order that the player desires. 4d6 are rolled and then the lowest one is discarded. So I decided that that's not really in the spirit of the first edition AD&D characters. So while this was a method that was done for the purpose of letting the players make something viable, I really want to capture that feeling of, you know, the first edition AD&D old school fighter style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 3d6, which is the main method I believe outlined in the player's handbook. It's also, interestingly enough, it's also the default method for second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, so I wanted there to be a little bit of consistency there. So I'm going to be rolling 3d6 and just recording the results, and I'll do that sort of down the line. So the first one's going to be my strength, second's going to be intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and then charisma. Now I have to have a minimum of a 9 to be a fighter, so if I do end up getting anything less than a 9, I will re-roll until I get a 9. So that's the only real caveat for this, so let's just go ahead and we'll get our stats here. Alright, so let's just actually, on our scrap paper, I just want to zoom in so it'll kind of show up here. So let's just go with strength, whoops, intelligence. I don't know how well these are going to show up, but I'll try to do my best. Wisdom, dex, con, and charisma. Normally I use markers to help things show up a little bit more, but let's just do this. Alright, and 3d6 are our strength. Yeah, like I said, so for the strength I'm going to re-roll until I get a 9 or better. So that was only going to be a 5. That's, you can't make a fighter with a 5 strength. Oh, there we go. That's actually pretty good. So we got a 15. So 15 strength, and everything else is going to be the straight roll. So just go ahead and intelligence 15. 6, 4, and 5. Not getting some bad stats here. Of course, probably where I want the higher numbers to be in dexterity and constitution, they're probably going to end up being kind of low, but this is a 12 wisdom, 6, 5, and 1. Alright. Yeah, it's starting to bottom out a little bit, so we got an 11 dexterity. Constitution of 10, yeah, see where I wanted that 15 would have been here in constitution. So we got a 10 constitution, and charisma is probably going to end up being high because it's the least used stat. Nope, actually it's pretty bad. So a 7 charisma. Alright, so we got our stats. We got a strength of 15 and intelligence of 15, so he's okay strength and pretty dang smart. But everything else is kind of average to well below average for that charisma, so he's not very sociable. Now the first thing I want to do, actually, there are some things that can be filled out. I'm just going to zoom, whoops, back out. Alright, so let's start getting our abilities and plug them into place here. Now I'm playing a human. Humans have no racial adjustments or anything like that. So strength 15, intelligence 15, wisdom 12, 11 for dex, 10 for constitution, and a measly 7 charisma. So this guy is probably not going to have any henchmen or followers. So going to our player's handbook, first thing we got to do is get our stat tables. So we got our strength here, so we just go across the 15 column. So for 15 we get no bonus on hit probability, no bonus on damage adjustment, and the weighted allowances on the character sheet. But we do have open doors on a 1 or a 2, and lift gates, bend bars, lift gates at 7%. So not the greatest. Just going to plop those numbers in here. So there's no percentage because I didn't have an 18, so no exceptional strength. 0, 0, and then the open doors and stuff really isn't going to matter, but let's just fill that in anyway. So open doors is on a 1 to 2 and 7% for bend bars and lift gates. So intelligence. Moving on next, so we got our intelligence here. So I'm gonna actually have a pretty decent number of languages. 4 additional languages. I'm not really going to worry about filling that in. And the spellcasting stuff doesn't apply because I don't actually have spells. So I'm just going to put in additional languages were 4, and then I'm just going to put NA for the spell stuff because I'm not a spellcaster, I'm a fighter, so I'm never going to get a chance to learn spells to begin with. So Wisdom would be the next one, and let's back it a little bit here. So our Wisdom is 12, and there's nothing really that I need to have with this either, because I don't get bonus spells or chance of spell failure. So let's just basically magic attack adjustment. So all this stuff is non-applicable to our fighter. Now if I were to dual class later, then that may come into play, but for the most part it's just not going to do anything. And dexterity of 11 gives us nothing. So this is the dexterity. And 11 dexterity is just 0, so that's not great. So 0, 0, 0. Constitution of 10. I made just to try to get myself a little bit more comfortable with the fighter, I actually made a first level fighter last night. I was just up late with, like I said, my knees were bothering me and everything. And that one turned out a little bit better, so I don't know if I'm going to... I use the same methods, like I use the straight rolls and everything, but I ended up getting some really good rolls, so I don't know if I'm going to end up using this one or the other one, just because, you know, like the Constitution ended up being 18, 16 strength. But, like I said, I wanted to make one on camera, so I'll probably end up using the one that I made on camera in the video, just to be fair. So Constitution, what does that give us? Probably not much. For a 10 Constitution, so we got 0 for bonus hit points, and 70 and 75% for, okay, so 0 bonus hit points. System shock is 70%, and resurrection survival is 75%. So again, these numbers aren't really going to come into play. But let's just take a look at our terrible charisma. So charisma, we have a 7, so that gives us 3 maximum henchmen with a loyalty base of -10% and a reaction adjustment of -5%. So again, not great numbers there. So maximum henchmen 3, -10%, -5%. Alright. So we've got that taken care of. Let's just fill in some details up here as well. Let me get the camera to focus. Doesn't look like it's going to, so let's zoom out a little bit. Alright, character name, let's just go with sort of my standard human kind of fighter type of Nathan Jasan. So he is a human, and I know my handwriting's terrible. Just try to bear with me with that. Alignment, gonna make him lawful good. And class is fighter. And level's going to be 1. Alright. I'm not too worried about filling out things like age, height, all that stuff, just because, again, this is really just about creating the bare bones sort of thing. But let's just put some things in. So we're going to give him an age of, let's just say he's starting off at 19. He's male. Now, you can normally would roll for height and weight. I'm not going to bother with that just because, you know, to me that's sort of a minor thing. So his height's going to be 5 foot 10 inches. His weight's going to be 15 strength. That's not bad. So let's put him at 165. Hair will be brown. Eyes green, and skin will give him fair skin, fair complexion. All right. So that's that. Next we have our weapon proficiencies, the combat stuff. So the only thing I'm really going to focus with the combat information down here is going to be the actual weapon charts, which is just going to be for the longsword. So like I said, what I want to do is have longsword, shield, and chainmail. Now I have to make sure that I can actually get that though. So what I have to do is now go back to the player's handbook and go to the equipment section, because you roll your equipment randomly. Or not your equipment, but you roll your starting gold and everything randomly. So see if I can find that. I think I went too far. I'm not as familiar with the first edition AD&D books as I am second edition. So here we go. So we got our money. So a fighter, and we'll zoom back in. So the fighter gets 5d4 times 10 gold pieces. So it should range from 50 to 200 gold. So let's go back to our scrap paper here. And really the only thing I'm worried about is just getting enough to cover the armor, the sword, and the shield. But let's just go ahead and roll. So we've got 4. Okay, 8. We're doing pretty good so far. Wow. I'm glad I'm getting this on camera. So 12. 15. Wow. That actually turned out pretty good. So 15, so 19, so 190 gold to start. That's pretty decent. Now again, I'm only going to be going for, like I said, what I think would be the affordable and reasonable first level equipment. That said, we'll have a look at the charts here and see what I can pick up. All right. So whoops. So we've got our armor here. So chainmail is 75 gold, and a shield is I'm going to get a large shield, and that is 15. So the way that shields work now is different than how they worked back then. Back in first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, the shield is only applicable against a certain number of attacks, and the size of the shield determines how many attacks you can apply the armor class to. Now, facing also did matter. So if you were attacked from behind, for example, you weren't able to get your shield bonus in. The small wooden shield can be used against a single attack, so it can only block one attack. The small, just the small shield, so not the small wooden, but the small shield, could be applied against 2 attacks, and the large shield could be applied against 3 attacks. So I'm going to get the large shield just because that's the best one that we can get. So here we have that. Whoops. Zoom out. Whoops. Zoom out a little bit. There we go. So yeah, normal size. So does it list normal size shield? Huh. So it says a normal size shield can effectively be counted against 2 attacks per round, large against 3, small shield can only be against 1, but it doesn't give a regular shield. It just gives small shield, small wooden shield, and large shield. So I'm going to assume again that the regular shield that's given here would be the one that would apply. But anyway, I'm getting the large shield, and the armor bonus is the same regardless of what time that you get. So let's just start with chainmail and large shield. So that is going to take 90 of our gold. That leaves us with 100 extra gold left over. The only other thing that I need is a longsword, which I already looked up before, is 15 gold. So that leaves us with 75 gold remaining that we're just not going to really worry about or bother with. So there we go. That's the only equipment that is going to be applicable for this particular test. So let's go and fill in our information here. So it's down in our combat section. So our longsword is going to be in hand. I'm just going to shade that in. And we are going to be proficient in it. And that's that. So magic adjustment is +0. Ability adjustment is unfortunately +0. Space and range, I'm just gonna write that down as melee. Rate of attacks, so fighters at various levels can get more and more attacks. I'm a first level character, so I'm only going to be getting 1 attack per round. So 1 attack every round. That slash doesn't look distinguished enough. There we go. And our damage, so small, medium, and large. We're only going to be worrying about the smaller medium, which is going to be our standard 1d8. And unfortunately I don't get any bonuses to that. But large would be 1d10. And I believe I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to my Advanced Dungeons & Dragons stuff, but I believe, and I want to say that the different damages are done against different size opponents. So I think it's based off of the size of your opponent. Let's see if I can find if it says that. It doesn't reach strikeout at this point in time. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Oh yeah, it's right on the chart. So damage versus opponent. So small size, smaller, medium. And then let's just zoom all the way out. So damage versus opponent, so size smaller, medium, and then size large. So our long sword, all the way down here, which is listed as sword long, does 1d8. Oh, sorry, it's 1d12 against. Oops. Oh, I thought it was a d10, but 1d12 against large opponents. Now I'm only going up against goblins, so that's not going to apply here. So the last things to do are just to fill in my armor class and my combat matrix here. So this is something that I don't think the default character sheets had. But this just lists the armor class and what you need to roll to be able to hit them. And then we got our saving throws, which aren't really going to apply, but I am going to fill them in just because. Our defense, and I'll write down what we have, as well as our health, which will be our hit points, which is going to be a straight roll of a 10-sided die, because back in these days, you weren't guaranteed maximum hit points at first level. So the first thing I want to do is find the combat matrix for fighters, and I believe that's on page 75, I want to say, in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So here we go. So this is our attack matrix for fighters, paladin, rangers, bards, 0-level halflings, and humans. So we've got our levels for the the level of the attacker, a 0 level. So we're not 0 level, but what we're going to look at here is the armor classes. Now they range from -10 to +10. We're only going to be looking at 0 to +10. That's what's on this chart here. You can expand it to go into the negatives, but again, we're first level characters fighting goblins, so I don't think any of these goblins are going to have a negative armor class. And for those of you who have never played Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, armor class was done way different. So you still started with a base of 10, which would be an unarmored character with an average dexterity but the armor would actually lower the armor class instead of raising it. So the lower the armor class, the better. So -10 is an awesome armor class, and a +10 would be a terrible armor class. So let's just go through and fill out our chart. So we are levels 1 through 2. So this is the chart that we're going to use. So it's pretty simple actually. So to hit armor class 10 at first level, you just need to roll. Get it to focus here. Come on. So first level character would only need to roll, because we're using the second set of columns, would only need to roll a 10 or higher. To hit armor class 9, you need to roll an 11 or higher. Hit armor class 8, you need to roll a 12 or higher. 13 for armor class 7. 14 for armor class 6. 15 for armor class 5. 16 for armor class 4. 17 for armor class 3. 18 for armor class 2. 19 for armor class 1. And for an AC of 0, you would need to roll a natural 20. Also in this section would have our saving throw matrix. So we are fighter, first level, and it just gives the different types here. So the first one's paralyzation, poison or death magic, petrification, polymorph, rod, staff, wand, breath weapon, and spells. None of these are going to apply, but I'm still going to fill them in just for the sake of kind of filling out the sheet. So saving throws. I'm actually going to zoom out here a little bit. So fighter saving throws, first level. The first one that's given here is versus paralyzation or death magic or poison, and that is going to be a 16. Oh, sorry, 14. So just kind of show the chart here again, just once again. So fighter, first level, 14. So 14. And then going across, petrification or polymorph is going to be a 15. Rod, staff, or wand is going to be a 16. Spells are going to be a 17. And breath weapon is also a 17. So the way that the saving throws work is you just roll a d20, and you would essentially try to get this number or above. So if you're trying to save against paralyzation or poison, for example, a fighter would need to roll a 14 on the dice or greater, and as you go up in level, the numbers decrease. So that is that. Really the only thing left to do now is our armor class and our hit points. So let's fill in the armor class first. So I'm just going to fill in that we have chainmail and a large shield. And we have to go into our player's handbook to find what our armor class would be. Oh. Alright, the zoom's being really... There we go. Nothing but the highest quality here. So, just get into our armor class chart. So here we have our armor class table. So no armor of any type is armor class 10. Having a shield just basically lowers armor class by 1. So shield only could be armor class 9. So we've got chainmail and a shield. So chainmail plus shield, or just splint mail, but we're using the chainmail and the shield, gives us an armor class of 4. So we have an AC of 4 at first level. And now the moment of truth is the hit points. So fighters roll a d10, and I don't get any bonus hit points for my constitution. So my starting hit points are going to be whatever's on this dice. So it can be a number of 1 through 10. I'm a little bit worried here. I'm hoping that I get a decent number, or otherwise this one's going to go down pretty quickly. So we got 3 hit points. Three hit points. This guy is not going to last very long. Let's just see let's just give it a second roll and see what it would have gotten. 7. I know this is kind of cheating because I said I wanted to do it straight, but let's give him 5 hit points. Let's split the difference. Just to give me a little bit of survivability, because, I mean, with 3 hit points, it'd be pretty easy to die just to a single attack, which, I mean, can still happen with 5 hit points, but 3 was just really, really, really low. Let's just see if there's anything special about fighters and their hit points, just to see if maybe... nope. Okay. For determination... Yeah, just a D10, so... In fact, you know what? Let's scrap the 5, and so this roll will be what I use regardless. That's an 8. Alright, 8 hit points sounds fair for a fighter. That's not bad. That could be a lot worse, so let's stick with that, just because it is a random roll. And, yeah. There we go. So... we've got our first level fighter made. Now, just by comparison, the one that I made last night had 12 hit points because it had I rolled an 18 for the Constitution, which was actually really good. Gave me plus 4 hit points, and I rolled an 8 then as well. So since I rolled an 8 on the one last night, why not use the 8 that I rolled here today? And that's our first level fighter. So we've got, so we don't have any special bonuses to our attack rolls. So let's just quickly, just out of curiosity, let's consult the first edition AD&D Monster Manual, and let's just see what a Goblin... Hey, that worked really well. A Goblin's armor class is 6, so I still need to roll a 14 or higher to see if I hit this Goblin. So there we go. We got our first level character. I know I kind of cheesed the hit points a little bit, and keeping in tradition with... so let's actually... I'm going to write down... Just to be fair, I'm going to do a combat with hit points of 3. Just because that's the first number that I rolled. I will actually do that in the combat. The first one I do, so I'm going to end up recording 2 sets of combat with this character, only because I think the 3 hit point one is going to die probably on the first battle. But, so there we go, I've got both of them written down. And I'll try the one with 3 hit points first, see how it goes. But for the purpose of actually testing this out, I wanted one with a decent amount of hit points, so we got the 8 there. So that is our first edition AD&D character made. I know there are some steps that I did miss, like, you know, all this information here. It's just none of this is going to apply to the situation that I'm going to be doing here with this Goblin test. But I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm not very familiar with first edition AD&D characters. So if I messed anything up, let me know in the comments below. I think I did all right here, though, and hope you come back on Saturday where I'll be doing the tests for the standardized made characters. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.